if you compare it to um, Texas. Right now, I don't know, 90 degrees, but it's just humid,
Yeah.
so I can't.
Ours isn't much above 90 degrees. It's probably only 99 right now. Been coming down a little bit.
Oh wow, only 99 degrees Fahrenheit. That's such an improvement.
It is a lot better than 106.
I don't know if I believe you.
This whole week it's like 99, 100, 98, 99, 100, 101, 98. So it's like coming down. I'm happy to see it. I think it's
Like
great.
1 degree at a day.
Hey, I'll take it. Anything that
Yeah.
feels like progress.
So like, I'll visit Texas in like 50 days.
Oh, it should be much better in 50 days.
Yeah. Can't really go outside without being in water, but
Yeah. I was going to get my ice vest.
Waiting for people to join. Welcome everybody to the Biohacker chat. We need like a new name or something. The Biohacker chat seems a bit.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
agree.
CDC announcement. Just like catfish people.
CDC, yeah, official public CDC announcement.
Yeah. But maybe we should just not have a name, because if we have a name, then it becomes like a podcast. And like, do we really want to start a podcast?
No. I get that.
No, I have a podcast already, and no, there's plenty of podcasts.
Biohacker cast. Anyway,
that's really bad.
This week in biohacking. What's been going on? What's new?
You tell us.
Yeah, I mean, us getting stabbed.
What did you do yesterday?
So I don't know if y'all heard, but Ginkgo Bioworks bought Zymergen. Y'all probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think majority don't. I don't think I fully understand.
You're not really into synthetic biology companies? No? Yeah, that was really interesting. Ginkgo Bioworks and Zymergen were competitors. And a few years ago, and then Zymergen had like kind of a falling out, and Ginkgo Bioworks probably would have had a falling out if it weren't for the pandemic. They raised, Ginkgo Bioworks got like $1 billion loan from the government, which kind of just like bailed them out. Right now, Ginkgo's stock is around like $2.50, and Zymergen is like slightly lower, maybe at like $2.30. But yeah, Zymergen kind of like, once everybody realized they didn't really have a product, they kind of, started to go under. But Ginkgo Bioworks doesn't really have any products either, is the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, a lot of hype, but what do you actually do? Like, what do you do? Show me.
Product that they'll help you develop your product.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how many people actually use that, or what's going on with it. Usually they sell it to their own companies, right? That's how Ginkgo Bioworks makes money, is they like start a company, give that company money, and then have that company pay them to do work. But yeah, they bought Zymergen, which was really interesting. A lot of people in the biotech space were like, Zymergen was really like into using machine learning and bullshit to help with, the scaling of, like one of the hardest parts in synthetic biology is to scale up production of any sort of commodity, right? So you can grow, like, let's say yeast and make this thing in a bioreactor that's like 5 liters, but then making it in a bioreactor that's like 10,000 liters is so much different. For some reason, they just don't produce, it's not like a linear thing. Um, it's like sublinear, you know? So it's just like, yeah, there's just kind of like, wee, I don't even know how, what you'd even call that. Bimodal, maybe. Um, but yeah, and so that was Zymergen's like pitch all the time was that, they were going to change how to scale these products and use machine learning to make it easier to make these products and scale them and stuff like that. But they never were able to. But yeah, Ginkgo bought them, maybe for their software. I don't know, but it was a really interesting purchase in the world of synthetic biology. Yeah, so that's something that was going on.
Oh man. Okay, a couple questions are starting to come in. For the first guy, I do want to say you don't use, like, most of the time biohackers don't need a laminar flow hood. That's like an expense you definitely don't need for the most part.
Yeah, everybody always thinks they need a flow hood and an autoclave, which, like, I don't know where they really like learn these things, and I don't know if it's like other biohackers or like, you know,
I think it's just like
labs.
in labs.
Academic, yeah, you just look at the pictures of academia labs and you're like, I need to set it up exactly like it is there.
Like, even in academia, I didn't really use autoclaves. I mean, maybe other people did, but like, if you like make your media and add antibiotics, it was like, why autoclave it if I'm going to use it, you know?
And I've definitely seen plenty of videos coming out from various academic labs where they're like, then we just boil it in the microwave.
Yeah. Just buy a pressure cooker if you like really need to be clean. It's very useful. I'm cooking rice in it also.
I've never had to use an autoclave. Like, never. There's never been a reason where I've had to. I mean, maybe doing some plant stuff, but I've even done plant stuff without using an autoclave. Worst case scenario, I've used like an oven. You just stick it in the oven, at like, I don't know, 200 degrees.
Yeah.
300 degrees, and you just let it cook for 15 minutes or something. But otherwise, it's like,
Yeah. Maybe if they're doing myco stuff with mushrooms, then just get a pressure cooker, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah, you got an autoclave.
Yeah, I mean, but for terms of like laminar flow hoods and stuff, I mean, for the most part, I mean, just have good aseptic technique, and you won't usually have trouble.
Yeah, you can also get like an air purifier because I had a problem with mold in this lab because there wasn't heating at winter, so this building like it had a lot of moisture, so a lot of um, mold was here, like a lot of just fungi. Like I couldn't see it, but like my plates were getting super contaminated. So I just got like just clean it up, just have like some Clorox, mop your floors, open your windows, and I don't know, just get a cheap air purifier for $50 that if you have a problem with mold.
Yeah, and I had that in my shed also, just like a air purifier from Walmart. Like a HEPA filter, just to like reduce the number of spores in the air. Because I was in a shed in the woods that didn't even have a real door on it. I cut a hole in the plywood and put hinges on the piece that I cut out. So
That's your favorite story to tell. It's like every stream, David is like,
Yeah.
like when your parents, when they tell you how they got to school,
Walk uphill both
they
days.
it's like,
Snow.
how I did biohacking? I didn't even have a real door. I was doing it in a forest in Mississippi.
It's true. It's true. But the point is, you can definitely get away without it.
Yeah. I think people, like science in general, is trying to optimize to make up for so many fuck ups when if you just have like good technique or even just reasonable technique, like you don't have an issue with all these fuck ups. I've done
Yeah.
so much. We all have, you know, with human cell culture and everything. We even have a class. The Odin has a class doing human cell culture in your kitchen. Like, it's surprising how much you can do and how not bad of a problem contamination actually is.
Yeah.
Um, it's uh, it's crazy, and you could do experiments with this stuff. That's the thing, you know. Take some LB broth or something like that, and microwave it, or just leave it out and see how long it takes for stuff to grow in it. And I've done that experiment so many times, and you can let it sit for a week, sometimes more, and nothing will grow. And it's just like, all right, you know, like the environment isn't as, you know, as long as you're not breathing into stuff, you know, or like touching everything, sticking your fingers in it, like you're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're, from a drier climate.
Yeah. Or just get like a little alcohol. What is it called? Like not a lamp, but it can be a lamp. Just like a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
Uh,
A little
and
better.
it creates like a zero area in like 30 centimeter diameter, and there you go. Just like try to be clean. Just clean your room. If you have a
Yeah,
problem with
just use
contamination.
alcohol. That's what I usually do. Is I just spray everything down in alcohol in my gloves and never really have a problem. But yeah, you know, um, biohackers, don't worry about that shit.
Yeah.
Don't get an autoclave. Don't get
Yeah. I
a
mean,
flow hood.
save your money, spend it for cooler stuff, buy DNA with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Because
Dude,
otherwise, you can
our
buy a lot
gym.
of
What the heck? This is
you can
really
buy
the comments we get?
you can buy
I don't know.
you can buy a lot of equipment, and a lot of it will just end up collecting dust, and there's your money
True,
collecting dust.
honestly.
Yeah,
We only use it so much. Like if it's not a
yeah,
pipette,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Probably
true.
like my second most used lab equipment is paper towels.
Yeah, it's amazing how inexpensive it is, but people make it to be so much more expensive just because of like dogma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just the expectation of need.
but yeah, biohacking. Um, so yeah, stem cells. We've been working on stem cells, um, harvesting our own stem cells. We started that project yesterday, and we will hopefully have some results in the next few days. But you know, we recorded it and everything like that, but we're not going to live stream our experiments anymore, um, so that we don't
for
get
obvious
kicked off of
reasons.
social media.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to post them online after the fact, uh, edited versions, so it's easy to digest and stuff like that. But we harvested some of our fat tissue to grow stem cells, which will be interesting. I have no idea. I mean, you look at these papers, but it's not clear, and everybody's using slightly different techniques, um, and slightly different collection ways, and slightly different collection methods, and all these things. And I think that's what makes this project or these projects with biohackers so important is that like if somebody was to be like, how do I collect stem cells from my fat tissue or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, the traditional way is, you know, somebody lipos does liposuction, sticks like one of those giant liposuction rods in you and you sucks out a bunch of blood and fat and other stuff, and then that's processed. And usually it's not even really processed, it's just kind of like centrifuged, and these clinics will then like inject it back in you after it's centrifuged. Um, but you know, like how do you go about this process? There's not many protocols where it's just people who are like, I am collecting stem cells from myself, and I want to isolate them and multiply them and grow them. um, very little, if any, information, and trying to figure out what's important and what's not, and what steps you actually have to do and what you don't, and and things like that. Yeah, it's surprising like how not applicable a lot of the scientific literature actually is, just to
Yeah.
like anybody else trying to do work.
Yeah. 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 And part of that's because they want to, like, you know, uh, there's just all the built-in assumptions that you have access to all this equipment, you have access to all these things, and so there's
Yeah, it's
no
not
like,
even that. It's just like everybody's doing stuff their own way, or like getting material from different stuff. Like this thing we're doing, there's not much equipment that you actually need, right? It's
well, I
just
just mean in
like,
general. For this one, sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, it's like people just everybody reinvents the wheel over and over and over again because it's so different. Everybody's starting from a different place or trying a different thing or something, and so it's just like it's complicated. It's like one project we've been working on that's really similar is genetically modifying mushrooms, and it's just like there's no like standard protocols out there, and everybody uses like all the papers where people have genetically modified fungus, like enzymes they use are different from different suppliers, and all the methods are different, and a lot of the enzymes that people did use are discontinued, and it's just like it's the way a lot of science is, where it's just like so much of the protocols are like they're not standardized. Everybody's trying to do it over and over and over again because the other person who did it didn't make it standardized or use something that's not widely available, or and
Yeah.
it's annoying because you can't just like go to a scientific paper and be like, "Ooh, here's a protocol. I'm just going to follow it step by step and do it."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also like, once you uh, and a lot of times, even once they do have a standardized protocol, they add a bunch of unnecessary crap. So, yeah, it is nice to have a way that, like, anybody with regular access to regular stuff could just make some stem cells if they wanted to, you know?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's or just like it seems like that would be the best way. I get it that like science, a lot of times you're not allowed to experiment on yourself. So they go and they get you know, their fat tissue from some place where it's already harvested. But it's like that's not like who has access to like these liposuction clinics or like a hospital,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that that's the only people who are doing science just like tells you how stuck science is in this like weird world of, you know, the
Science
ivory
used to be
tower.
cooler when it was done by scientists on themselves, like with the vaccine. People
Yeah.
gave us so much shit when literally the first vaccines were developed like that. Like, come
Well,
on.
I think the original smallpox vaccine was first tested on a little boy.
I think it was a neighbor kid or something.
No, I think it was the guy's slave's son.
Oh,
Yeah. So that one might not be a great example, but
yeah. Well, other examples before I
yeah,
get canceled.
yeah. So, but yeah, like how Daria spoke too soon. Um, but yeah, this is a good one. How could a protocol get standardized without academic backing? I think that's an interesting question because it's like the only reason people feel like academic backing is required for these things to become standardized is because there's not like an existing alternate system. But if there was like an existing alternate system of just
But like,
people,
what protocols are standardized? Like mini prep? Like
sure,
besides like a mini prep protocol or like agarose gel electrophoresis or something, like what protocols are actually standardized? Like, if you ever worked in more than one scientific lab in your life, everybody has a different way of doing everything, and everybody does stuff differently, right? And it's like
True.
it there's really no protocols that are standardized, and that's one of the problems with science, right? Is it's like, you
Yeah,
know, like
even
how to do a
simple.
Western blot or something, right? It's like you run the gel and then you transfer it to a membrane. How you transfer it, what buffers use, everybody uses something different. How do you block this membrane? Some people use BSA, some people use skim milk, some people use other stuff. The amount of time they use, some people block for like 8 hours, some two, some one, some transfer for like, it's like all different. Everybody's using different techniques for all these things because it's what works for them, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems is that like you go online and you look up a protocol for like Western blots or something like that, and you'll get 50 different protocols, right? And that's the hard part is if you're starting out and you're like, I want to do this, but like this protocol says this and this one says this, like what do I do, right? It gets complicated, and that's the way it is with a lot of stuff. Like this stem cell stuff. It's like it's complicated. It can be really complicated, and it's like it shouldn't be because like and everybody's doing different stuff when they're trying to isolate and purify and grow these stem cells, and it's like wait, why is everybody doing different things? Like shouldn't there be it's like baking? Yeah, sure, everybody has their own little things, but there should be like standard ways to do stuff.
Yeah. And also, even really old stuff like calcium chloride, heat shock, E. coli transformations. Like there's like a million little variations on it from everybody's protocol, slightly different. Like how long do you heat shock? I've seen from like 15 seconds to a full minute,
Yeah.
and they all tend to use pretty much the same temperature, but like different volumes of bacteria, different everything, you know.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a website that does protocols. I think it's protocols.io, but like it's still the same issue, right? And it's like
There's
I
also
don't know. I don't know if there's a correct answer for stuff like this, but I think having some sort of um, like at least in the biohacker community, having stuff available that makes it obvious, and like something that works and something that people can start from and accessible. I think that's the best.
yeah.
Um, it's
Yeah,
like
because even if it's not like optimal, it can get improved over time as like a sort of community thing. Um, if people find like better things to add to it, just like honestly, kind of if you look at the way a lot of like sort of weightlifting steroid use community has done things, like they've just put an insane amount of experiments, even though a lot of them are poorly done. The just the amount of work that's been done to develop like a lot of protocols so that people just have an idea of what works. And it's all like completely amateur and most of it's illegal.
yeah, but it's like um, putting stuff out there, making it easy, making it accessible is what we're trying to do. And right now with stem cells, there's nothing like that. Um,
Yeah.
Getting stem cells, trying to figure out easy way to grow stem cells from your own body is, I think, really cool. But right now, the methods are basically like we were thinking about doing this method where you take your blood and buy these kits that allow you to isolate stem cells from your blood. Um, it's pretty expensive,
Yeah.
these kits. Um, it didn't seem like a in accessible way to go about things. And so it's like, yeah,
Yeah. And on top of that, there's also a lot of extra steps. I mean, these cells are already STEMmy and can transform into a lot of things. It may not be pluripotent, but it's pretty wide. And there's a good bit of experience that's been had with mesenchymal stem cells in various human applications. Whether how much of that's real or not is another question, but at least there's something there.
Yeah, these stem cells will be mesenchymal stem cells, and usually they can differentiate into like muscle, fat, like tendon, bone, neurons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like they're pretty good. Um, you could get them to
Yeah.
differentiate into like a lot of you could get them differentiated into almost every cell type, just like especially if you culture them with the cells. Um,
Yeah. Especially any cell type you might actually like care about.
yeah,
You know. Um, but yeah,
but yeah,
it's interesting. So I looked at them this morning, at least
mhm.
mine, and there's definitely some adherent cells that have stuck and just like displaced some of the red blood cells along the surface. So
Yeah, cool.
we'll see. We'll see if they start like replicating and what happens.
Yeah, I mean, stem cells use in medicine. I don't know. It's a very difficult. Like they're useful. Obviously, they do something, but how useful are they? Don't know. Um, but their usefulness in biomedical research and just experimentation is a ton, and that they're a primary cell type that you can differentiate into a lot of different cell types. Like obviously, getting some of your neurons or heart tissue or something like that would be extremely difficult. Um, but these are things you can do with stem cells. And so it gives you the ability to experiment on a lot of different cell types that you normally wouldn't be able to. Um, yeah, it's really cool. I think that's the foundation of biohacking, and this stuff is like research and experimentation and getting to creating stuff and making this stuff available is really important.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that I think, like I've said before, I think that's the biggest thing sort of our generation of biohackers can do is build infrastructure for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But the but no, I'm excited also for some like non-medical stuff. So I'm excited for like just turning them into different types of cells. I think that's just exciting by itself. Just watching them in culture become whatever cells. I'm especially interested in them becoming bone cells and depositing some bone on some stuff. I just think that's really cool to be able to like grow a hard material. Just because even if it's all nodules and stuff, that would kind of suck, and it's probably what's going to happen. But it's just interesting to me because like most of the time you're dealing with biomaterials, it's relatively soft, flexible stuff. It's like a lot of cellulose and things like that, except for some of the like mushroom bricks or whatever. You just don't see a lot of like cells going through and like depositing layers of material that's like not the cells and building structure. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah. 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 These cells. Yeah, it'll be interesting to differentiate them. It'll be interesting to just work with them. Just you know, I think being able to get stem cells from your own body is really it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, yeah, and you can grow a lot of weird stuff from it. Um, you can grow neurons, make the neurons talk to each other. There's a wide range of stuff from like all the way from like materials to like medical type applications and everything in between. So it's an interesting space. And That's without even counting genetically modifying them.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, biohacking. What's going on in biohacking? Got
Um,
stem cells working on. Yeah, one of the other things been working on with Lyra, who works at the Odin, is genetically modifying fungi, and yeah, it's interesting how complicated. Here's the thing: is that like plants are so much harder to genetically modify, but everything is so much more standardized, and the knowledge is so much more well known in plants than it is in fungi, and it's weird, right? Because it's like why that doesn't really like make much sense, you know, that like nobody would be working on genetically engineering fungi or like um you know it's yeah it's crazy, and
yeah,
it's just like it seems like a really interesting place to do some work and figure out these protocols and genetically modify fungus and make it available.
yeah, and it's interesting to me because like especially since like obviously people have been eating mushrooms for probably since the ice age or whatever, like forever.
Yeah,
Fungus are evil, but they're getting a little more popular, I think, in Western food now. I mean, other than just like mushrooms on your pizza or whatever, or cream of mushroom soup, and there's a lot of interesting like medical stuff, and fungi are good at making things. I mean, obviously we've like the world, humanity has engineered yeast to make stuff, and bread yeast to make stuff, for like a lot of fermentation kind of things. But like once you can genetically modify them, you can do a whole lot more interesting things, from just um, you
well, I
know.
mean, most crops that are used today are genetically modified, right?
Oh yeah,
That are grown, and it's just like um, it seems like a reasonable step for fungus,
yeah.
not unreasonable, especially as it grows as an agriculture product. Is
It is weird undomesticated a lot of fungus are. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
there are domesticated strains, but a lot of these strains are like, yeah, we wild gathered this from a tree in the forest, and now we're selling it. But like, if you go to get like, if you want to try to go get some wild wheat or wild onions and compete with agriculture, like, come on, nobody wants your onion that's
yeah,
this big, or your like hard woody piece of wheat. So it's like we
yeah,
have to improve our crops.
yeah,
Mushrooms
yeah.
definitely.
It's interesting because yeah, mushrooms as a crop, is it's just like they've never been. It doesn't seem like bred, or people don't use strains that um, are optimized for pretty much anything. And
Yeah,
people just use these generic strains that they got from somebody else and try to grow them on some generic substrate that doesn't really make much sense. And it's interesting, just like how and I hope I don't offend anybody here. I'm sure I will. Like how primitive fungal farming and growing is compared to like plant farming and growing. When you think they probably um like they're probably in terms of food like just as old as each other.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Of course.
it's not like fungus haven't been around with plants with humans and animals and everything. Like they have, but like way more effort's been put into domesticating plants and not as much into fungus.
Yeah.
It seems like almost very little into fungus. And
It might be something that we're unfamiliar with. Like maybe there's some stuff that's been happening in I don't know Tibet or
well,
something,
yeah,
or something got some highly domesticated fungus or something. But
well, No, I mean, of course, like
But yeah,
there's
but
stuff like
nothing on the scale at all.
yeah, it's just, and I get it that the U.S. isn't like a huge mushroom market, but it's definitely growing, and Asia's way bigger. I'm sure they have some different technology, but yeah, in the U.S. because it's just like I don't know, yeah, all they sell is basically those button mushrooms, baby Bella mushrooms or whatever that
Yeah.
you can get at the store, which are like I don't I don't know if they're just like the easiest to grow or what, but they're just like the most boring mushrooms in terms of like taste and texture and um
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah. They probably are just really easy.
but yeah, it doesn't seem like much effort's been put into this stuff. So it's like I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Scalability, yeah, I mean, definitely because of scalability, but like you also have to think about plants. It was the same way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
At least with plants, like you can do it outside, so you don't need, a dark place. And I guess it's easier to find places that aren't dark.
dark. Wait, why do you need dark places?
Don't a lot of funguses don't like this, not like the sun? Like they grow them in like
Maybe like
base.
direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think that they all grow most of them don't grow in the dark, right? I mean, most of
Yeah.
them grow outside,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they have
But
to
like,
be yeah, they have to be in sunlight.
yeah. 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 But like, I guess the woods is maybe harder to cultivate stuff in than just a big empty field.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I don't know, but I mean, it doesn't seem like such a
Yeah.
like like insurmountable problem. Like you can't grow it in direct sunlight. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I just think it would. No, no, it's definitely not insurmountable. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of mushroom farmers who farm this stuff in caves and stuff.
I mean, yeah, you don't even need a cave. I mean, shit, like a greenhouse, they farm a lot of plant stuff in, right? Like
Yeah,
indoor aquaponics farms. It doesn't seem like it's that complicated to just like, and they do farm fungus inside and all these things, but it's just like it's like the scalability. All these things that you're talking about are things that are like are so much more complicated than what it is to grow plants to me, right? Like if you look at plants, the original plants that produce the things that we eat and have been domesticated and bred over thousands of years to become what we actually consume now, right? It
right.
seems like if the same amount of effort was put into fungus,
Oh, for
like
sure.
you'd have something that was like at least as similar in scalability, production, growth, and all this stuff. Like it doesn't seem like you're looking at some sort of physical,
No,
law that you're trying to deal with or break or some sort of like genetic issue or something like that.
especially
Um,
when you consider the effort that goes into some things like cranberries or rice, where they flood the fields and all this stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so
Right?
I could
It's like the
definitely
amount
see
of effort.
if humans had decided to really double down on fungus instead of plants, we probably would just have like giant fields of you know just like 8 foot tall mushrooms growing.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, for sure.
Because like our
But
plants are already so much bigger than their wild counterparts,
yeah,
and so much more. They grow so much more aggressively. Yeah, but I think a little genetic engineering could definitely speed things along, especially if you could do some like nice genome editing. You know, knock out the things that make it difficult, add some stuff that you want, maybe some like disease resistance or something. You know, add some way to combat mold or whatever.
yeah,
Like that's an
yeah.
interesting thing that like some plants do is they'll make herbicides to kill competing plants, like walnuts and stuff. So like I wonder if you could have like a mushroom that makes like anti mold stuff. to fight the
Or just
mold.
make it so it's resistant to a gene that, just
Yeah,
like that you could use an
or
antibiotic.
yeah, my
Yeah,
antibiotics on it and it's resistant. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that would be probably the easiest, you know. So
yeah,
it's just like, yeah, it seems pretty basic, but yeah, that might be not a terrible idea. It's just like naturally subject some fungus to these antibiotics, um, and evolve them to grow in concentrations of the antibiotic that would kill mold and other things.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah. And I'm sure there's probably some naturally occurring antimycotic that some mushroom somewhere makes that you could probably just transgene that shit and along with the resistance and pop the whole thing in as a cassette or something like that.
yeah. Seems complicated, but
But I mean, there's been a lot of companies that have made billions on that same kind of idea. Yeah,
yeah,
if you could just make it like easy and reliable to farm at scale and add interesting traits, you know, interesting flavors, extra vitamins, whatever.
yeah. Not even. I mean, just grow like you're talking about. You look at like, I mean, what have plants been evolved for, right? Definitely
Yeah.
not flavor or anything like that. Not saying you can't do flavors, but like I think that's a tough one as compared to just like grow faster and bigger. You know?
Oh, yeah. I know. I tried kudzu one time, and I don't think I've ever had a clearer example of what like underbred plants are like. Because like
Wait,
kudzu's
to
edible.
eat? You try to eat it?
Yeah, yeah, kudzu's edible.
I mean,
But
all plants are edible technically.
well, I mean, it's not poisonous.
I
Um,
mean, most plants are poisonous.
yeah, so I mean, you can eat kudzu and whatever. But
Oh
like the
yeah, how'd you eat it?
I mean, well, I tried it a few different ways. I cooked it a couple different ways, and I tried it raw. Raw was best, um, but it's so woody and flavorless, and
Yeah,
like
sounds like
compared to like
kale.
iceberg lettuce, it's just awful. It's like a few thousand years of breeding could make kudzu like a really good crop because it grows like crazy. Like if you were making greens out of it, it'd be wonderful if it like tasted good or had a good texture. But it's just
I don't know.
like
Are there any greens that actually taste good though?
I like turnip greens.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a big
I
turnip
mean,
fan.
greens are okay, but like the greens are always bitter, and I feel like everybody eats greens just to like be healthy. Like nobody actually likes them.
Oh, not me. I like greens, especially like if you get the turnip and you like chop it up, cube like dice it, cook it with the greens, and then put a little cornbread in there. Oh man, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Let the
Do you
cornbread
cook it
like
in
soak
like
up the green
all the
juice.
bacon fat stuff like
Yeah, put some bacon fat in there too. Hell yeah. I'm from Mississippi. Of course, I'm gonna put some bacon fat in there.
that? Yeah, greens are always, it's funny. That's the thing, and like why we choose which ones we eat and which ones we don't also just seems made up. Like you said, kudzu and like kale's a pretty terrible
Yeah, kale's
choice
awful.
for like something to eat.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's like
and
it's
like
like
kudzu,
pure fiber is what it feels like.
yeah, but it's like you could literally just go outside and eat any of the plants probably, and
Right. Some grass, it'd
I,
be just as good. Just kale.
sometimes I wonder like why we don't, or like what is
Yeah,
why we've chosen to eat certain things and not other things.
it is kind of
Uh,
weird. And I know
yeah,
some of it's because like a lot of it has like the same ancestral crop. Like a big chunk of our sort of like green plants that we eat are all descended from wild mustard. So they're all like various cultivars of wild mustard. And so it's
yeah,
like, you know, but like even like pine needles are edible. and
Yeah,
they're like,
like everything, it's just like pine cones. People eat pine cones,
yeah,
you
yeah, even the
know?
little male pine cones, the little pollen bearing ones, are supposed to be high in vitamin C and stuff like that. If
Yeah,
you
it's
read,
just like
like, yeah,
you just boil the shit out of that stuff and
yeah.
it gets soft enough to eat. But yeah, it's strange how we've chosen to eat the things we do and not other things.
Now there are some interesting examples. Like in the South, there was this thing called poke salad. I don't know if you've ever seen pokeweed, but it's like a big tall weed that grows really fast, and it has big green leaves and purple berries and a purple stalk. But it turns out that it's the purple parts have mutagenic properties. So there's like mutagens in the berries especially, but like people used to like take the leaves and make salad. But like apparently the only safe way to do it is like boil it 3 times, changing the water. So there's like no nutritional value left of whatever happened to be there. So it's just fiber and filler. But like
Do you mean
uh
like DNA mutagen or what?
apparently, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Like
really? Huh.
so some
Interesting.
toxin in the plant that is like not an acute toxin. Like you can eat all the poke salad you want, you just might get cancer later. But
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, so people used to eat poke salad all the time until it like they found out it was poison. And yeah,
Yeah.
the berries are poisonous, but so is the rest of the plant. It's just less so.
I'm back. Ukrainian
Okay,
internet providers don't want me to speak. They're trying to block me. They're going after me.
I think it's the
Yeah.
Russian. The Russians
Yeah,
are trying to
I'm
say.
sure it is. I'm sure it is. Russian hackers are after me.
Still trying to get a hold of these CRISPR tomatoes, though.
Yeah,
Anybody, anybody in Japan, nearby Japan, have access to CRISPR tomatoes? Want to send them to us? Send us some CRISPR tomato seeds.
yeah, yeah. I would be down for some CRISPR tomatoes. And I definitely wouldn't illegally
Yeah,
plant them
you can
Yeah.
just.
I don't think
We
that would
we
be
talked
illegal
about
to
it.
plant,
Hmm?
like maybe
Just eat it and
outside,
poop it out.
because the GMO regulations for this stuff are weird, right? Because they're like EPA and FDA, but only if you sell them
Yeah,
and grow them, right? So if you grow them inside, technically, without a chance of escaping into the environment, like
yeah.
technically you're not breaking any laws, right?
Trying to satisfy the EPA.
I guess
I
if you
mean,
transfer them across state lines or something like that, maybe.
yeah. And
Eat tomatoes, save your poop, be gay, do crime. Yes, back to the
I mean, you're
tomatoes.
not planting them if you just poop out the seeds and they just grow by themselves, right? It's not a crime.
I guess it depends on where you poop.
Like you can poop, right? It's not a crime to poop.
It's
But yeah,
pooping with intent
it's.
to plant GMO tomatoes.
I feel like it shouldn't be this hard. Maybe I need to post something on Twitter, like, "Hey,
Isn't
anybody in
illegal
Japan?"
too.
I mean, I know one person who has them in Japan, but I kind of doubt he's going to do anything that might be
Yeah,
possibly legal.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Most people shouldn't.
I'm sure these tomato seeds are already like in much more countries other than
All right,
Japan.
I posted. I don't think it's gonna work, but you never know. I think
Yeah,
we just need to keep like bringing it up that like if you're from Japan or know somebody in Japan, you
or going
know,
on vacation to Japan.
yeah, like CRISPR tomatoes. Send us some seeds.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do is we're just gonna spread them around the world. Do the world a favor. Some biohackerism.
It's really important for the science.
Yeah, when they pop up
If
everywhere,
they're
that would be.
supposedly good, if they're good for people, like I don't know. I want tomatoes with extra, what is it, gabapentin or
Yeah,
what?
but yeah, yeah.
Like I want that.
You should
I mean,
make it with Lexapro. I'm
yeah,
tired of.
who doesn't want an
Like
anti-anxiety tomato?
yeah, it's like I wanna eat tomatoes and not feel anxious.
Yeah. I want like
Seems like
antidepressing. Like, why do you have edibles with like THC? I want edibles with antidepressants. I don't want to like the pills are depressing. It's like themselves. Like, can you imagine every morning you wake up and you need to take a pill
I feel
just
like
so you
some gummy
want to
Lexapro.
live? Yeah, yeah. Also, I wanted to donate blood, but like you can't donate blood while you're on antidepressants. I'm like, why not? Like my blood is even better. Like it's like it has antidepressing,
So, so you're like
qualities.
somebody who needs a lot of blood is probably having a bad day.
Right? At least get some Lexapro.
uh,
uh,
I've thought about that. Like they don't like do they actually blood test? Like do they drug test blood when you donate blood, or do they? Like I know they test for diseases, but like do they test for like drugs? Like
I don't know. I don't think
could
so.
you get a transfusion and get high accidentally? Like you were in a car wreck, and then turns out the guy who donated blood was on mushrooms.
I might have definitely not, of course, donated my blood while I was still kind of, after day after high. Maybe, but I'm not sure I did it.
Okay.
But the person who got my blood, you're welcome.
it's pretty well regulated blood testing. Obviously, it's super
Yeah.
super regulated and super tested.
I just didn't know what all
So
they
yeah,
tested for.
the seeds of the tomatoes are probably sterile. I like it's really hard to make seeds sterile like that. I can't imagine, like maybe, but that just seems like usually with agriculture crops and stuff like that, companies enforce it through patents and things like that. Um, like if you were to take some corn from somebody's cornfield and grow it, like if you buy corn from the store and grow the corn, it's not illegal, even though it's made with Monsanto, you
Yeah.
know, corn or something like that. You're not going to go to jail. It's really hard, yeah, to make these like Terminator seeds, and none actually exist in the real world.
Yeah,
So I doubt it.
usually what happens when you make something sterile is it just fails to make seeds. So you have like
Yeah,
seedless watermelons that are triploids and stuff like that. And
yeah,
like the glowfish, they heat treat the eggs to damage them, but they're not all sterile. So like you can get them. You just have to get like several of them, and then you'll find one that slid through that didn't get successfully sterilized. They just have like reduced fertility, but they like
yeah,
wound the fish to make them sterile.
yeah. So it's like it's not. Yeah, life finds a way.
Yeah, exactly. The oh heck, well, the lysine
And even
condition.
if you can't, like a lot of times with these, like all you need is tissue from the tomatoes. You don't even need
Yeah,
seeds, right? It's like if you just have some tissue from the tomato, you can grow it in culture, and that shit's not hard. That's done all the time. It is to grow the tissue from a plant. Like you just need some living tissue from it.
yeah. And some
So
places, especially island nations and like highly like different like biologically places like Australia have really really super strict regulations about bringing plants and animals and fungus and stuff in, just because their like ecosystem is so different.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of places usually you can't bring like foods or
Fruit and vegetables.
agriculture or yeah anything like that. But seeds, I don't know how legal or illegal it is, but like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, hey, what is somebody gonna do if I like am growing GMO'd CRISPR tomatoes? Are they gonna come over and just like burn the plants or some shit? Like
They're gonna
What's the
aggressively
worst we
eat
do?
them in front of you. They're just gonna like eat and look in your
Find
eyes.
me? Like I don't. It seems like a
Yeah,
really like
finding
a
seems like
victimless crime. Like
yeah,
it seems hard to.
yeah. The victim is
And
the
like, how would
criminal.
they
Navy is probably gonna make
tell?
it like practicing medicine without a license just because it has like anti-anxiety properties. Or gonna like FBI is gonna be after you again.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah. Are there any other? I mean, I know there's the GMO salmon and there's the Arctic apple,
yeah,
but like those don't really. They sell those, right? They're like legal in the U.S., aren't
yeah.
they?
But I don't think you can actually get the salmon yet, even though
Yeah,
they
not the
like.
salmon. I don't
Yeah.
think the salmon has ever been approved.
Well,
Or
no,
like,
I think they did approve it, but then like some people sued the FDA or something to like stop it, and so it's like a whole thing, and so they're just holding on until the fucking lawsuit's done or whatever.
yeah,
Just because people are scared that like mutant, like it's gonna be Attack of the Killer salmon or something. But yeah,
yeah. We should just collect all the GMO crops and
we
Like
should get
distribute them.
Pokemons.
a GMO garden.
Isn't
You
there like
know,
a GMO mushroom also?
not that I'm aware of, but there could
Yeah,
be.
there was like a CRISPR mushroom that they decided wasn't genetically modified, maybe because they just like knocked out a gene or something like that and didn't put anything in.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that's how the USDA treats stuff. The FDA is usually pretty different, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one thing that bugs me is a lot of the seed banks and stuff all have like anti-GMO policies. So there's no like GMO seed bank, even though obviously like companies have their own seed banks for their products, but like you know, like these seed banks are supposed to like restart the world if things go to shit. So like why not include scientifically
Yeah.
modified stuff? Like why stop at a certain technology? It's just really weird. So it's just like seed banks of all these kinds of seeds, except for these other kinds of seeds.
It's like no, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's just arbitrary and weird. But I do think it'd be interesting to have like there's some traits I'd like to have that are in some of the commercial crops that I'd love to have in my garden. Like I don't want to weed stuff.
don't want to weed stuff.
Yeah, like I don't want to weed my garden. I just want to spray that shit with Roundup and then plant my plants and watch them grow.
Oh yeah, I don't want fucking Roundup on my garden.
Oh yeah.
Bioterror. Can you imagine? And then you're gonna get called
There's no point in having a
bioterrorist.
garden so you don't have Roundup on it, isn't it?
I ain't scared of Roundup.
Okay.
No, the whole point of having a garden is because the vegetables are cheaper and they're way fresher because you can just pick them and eat them immediately when they're ripe instead of like pig's
Do
green.
people actually like do gardening for the freshness and because it's cheap and not because it's like therapy, but you don't have to go to actual therapy?
Yeah.
I also do enjoy growing things. I really do like caring for plants.
It's just like procrastinating and dissociating.
Yeah.
Yeah, my problem
Like
with
you can
plants
make
is
good
like
food. They taste good. They usually taste a lot better than like
the
stuff bought
store.
at the store that's been mass produced. But like yeah.
Yeah, because like nobody's gonna put the
Like
effort into
cheaper.
it.
I don't know if plants growing stuff is actually cheaper because like the amount of effort you have to put in is like way more.
Well,
If
yeah,
I
you
took that
definitely
time, even though I don't put in a lot of time in the garden, if I took that time and just like made money and bought stuff,
sure. Yeah, I mean, I could work at McDonald's for the hours that I garden and buy a lot more produce than
yeah.
than I'm actually producing. But I'm just calling that free time because it's something I enjoy anyway.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, you can't count your time, or you're definitely upside down on the garden.
Or your water or
Yeah, that
the
is one thing.
seed.
water.
cost. It's like
Yeah,
I could have gone to the store and spent the amount of money I've spent on water and seeds and plants and like bought way more tomatoes than I've grown.
yeah. I usually grow like a ton of tomatoes. Texas is different. I'm having to like adjust. I'm having to figure out how to do Texas right. Like in
You grow
Mississippi, like
cacti.
3 tomato plants will just overwhelm the amount of tomatoes you could ever want to eat. It's just
Yeah, I
like,
think it's just the summer. You have to like beat the summer. You have to like go early or late.
yeah, my tomato plants are like, it's 110. I ain't making shit. I'm trying to survive here.
Yeah,
I honestly
totally.
understand them.
Yeah, I do too. So like I might do some like I don't know partial shade for even some of these like full sun. It's like full sun is one thing. Full sun in Texas is another level.
No, I
Full
think
sun is
so.
like 3 suns in like normal place.
Yeah.
Texas full sun is like double sun. It's like 1.5 full sun.
I think the sun hates Texas.
Or it likes Texas a lot because it hangs out here.
Mm,
But yeah, I would definitely love to have a lot like that's sort of like one of those like dreams I have, like old retired me one day, just like growing my little GMO garden with all my weird plants. Like, so there's this lady in Minority Report. I don't know if you have seen Minority Report, and
sure.
she's like one of the original geneticists that like helped design the whole like system, right? And she's got this greenhouse, and in this greenhouse she's got all these like weird flowers and crazy plants, and like some of them are like moving, and she's got like a wall of vines that attack people when they try to climb the wall. It's like, man, I'm so jealous. I like, why can't that be my life, one of these days just be
Yeah.
old tending my weird garden of mutants. Be so
Yeah.
nice.
That sounds interesting.
Sounds something I want to do right now.
Yeah. Biohack the Planet coming up. Yeah, Biohack the Planet. The Biohacker conference is coming up in first few days of September. Um, and there's still tickets available, I think. I'll have to change that on the Eventbrite. I think there's like 10 tickets left or something like that. Um, so yeah, check it out. You just search the internet for Biohack the Planet conference. I think it's on Eventbrite. The link is kind of long, so I'm not gonna get it or post it. But yeah, just search Biohack Planet on the internet. You'll get a link to it, and yeah, it's going to be a really fun time. We're going to get the schedule up really soon, this week or next week, and it's just going to be a lot of workshops and hanging out and having good conversation and all the
I'll
stuff you
probably
want.
come.
Nice.
So Daria's going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flight. I'm just gonna like launch myself from like a HIMARS straight to the USA. Yeah. I'm just glad it's not like September is still very hot in Texas, but like I think August is like the worst. Like August and July.
Yeah.
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 July, I think, is, yeah.
Yeah, I think July is the peak, but it's like it still bleeds over pretty hot into August. August isn't much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to hang out with a war refugee, go to Biohack the Planet.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot to learn, a lot to do. Show
I'm
you
gonna
all the
bring Ukrainian vodka again.
That was good
Ukrainian
last time,
vodka.
especially with the peppers in it.
Okay, I'll bring it with honey and peppers. You like that more? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do some souvenirs.
Yeah. But yeah, show up. It's going to be good. We're going to host it here at the Odin in Austin, which is a really cool space. Yeah, you get to hang out with all of us.
And we're so cool. You definitely want to hang out with us.
It sounded cool when you said it.
It's just like I think people that actually wanted to go to Biohack the Planet are now like returning their tickets after this.
You think we've done a disservice?
But yeah, um, yeah, Biohack Planet's gonna be fun. I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited about it. Hopefully have some documentary stuff to show, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think it'll just be a good few fun days.
I really like
Yeah.
the concept of it. Like it's very chill atmosphere because conferences are so stressful. Just like the amount of people and like how official they are and all this stuff. And it just
Yeah,
sounds
the
more
amount of
like
people so much. Yeah, for a lot of these. Like I went to DEF CON a few.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that many people in my life.
we're trying to make it less talk based, which is just like I don't know. Like I've never been to a conference where I enjoyed even like a quarter of the talks. And like we tried different talk formats, and it just seems like an easier thing to do is have events rather than talks and workshops and stuff like that, where you can learn stuff that way. I think that's a lot cooler than uh, having talks. Yeah, because you actually get to interact with the person who's leading it. You get to interact with the other people at the same time as being at the conference. Where usually talks are like one way. It's like somebody speaking at you, and there's not much interaction between the audience with each other and the audience with the speaker. And yeah,
Yeah, and you get to learn a lot more because you actually like get some like practical time interacting with the thing that you're learning about rather than just, hearing what's basically just all like theory and words.
but yeah, it's so worth it. Like $250 for just like learning as much science, hands-on science as you can in a weekend, hanging out with
it's
cool
crazy.
food is provided. You don't have to
With
worry
cool
about
people.
food, drinks. It's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. And with some Ukrainian vodka, with some Horilka, come on. You won't find that Horilka even for $250 anywhere in the US. Think about it twice.
Unless
I'm so good at marketing.
there's any, if provided there's any left. I mean, we don't know
You
what's
can
going
hang
to
out with like a living refugee. You can take a picture with
happen.
me and post how much you think all this is so bad. It's like
I think
how like white missionaries go to like Africa and they like literally take pictures with African kids and they're like, okay, bye. Now I can post it on Instagram.
that's so terrible. Oh,
I know.
yeah.
They're now coming to Ukraine and they're like, taking
Oh,
selfies in front of like ruined buildings. And they're like, oh, everything happens so bad. I learned so much about, how hard
I hate
life can be.
that so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, getting like, I think it's going to be interesting because there's going to be more and more genetically modified stuff in the future, and I think they've made an interesting transition from just trying to make like things that appeal to farmers to things that appeal to end consumers.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's going to make a big difference in like how they're received.
Yeah. I'm waiting, like, I'm not waiting for a new iPhone every year. I'm waiting for like a new drop of a new GMO I can buy.
Yeah, I mean, they could do crazy stuff. Pre-dyed cotton that grows in different colors, so you don't have to use dyes. Then it could be like all natural color on your, you know, non just white cotton. Yeah, and that I think is a fun thing too. Is like I just look forward to what people make, just like regular folks, just making stuff. You
Like
know,
us, the cool kids.
yeah,
If I'm gonna like call us cool one more time, I think like I'm just gonna get banned from the stream forever.
do we have school discounts? Not really. I mean, the cost of our materials is already really inexpensive, so like, you know, we don't
Yeah.
really. Sometimes we do, sales and stuff like that, but we're not too big on discounts because, um, like everything we sell is already really inexpensive.
Or you can go to my channel called YanniLab, and there's a hidden code
Yeah.
for the Odin
So you
and get a
said
discount.
agrobacterium. They have agrobacterium on Amazon.
I'm checking
What?
that.
No way.
Yeah, that seems like agrobacterium is.
I can't even imagine E. coli on Amazon. No, and agrobacterium is so aggressive.
There's be agrobacterium to cautions.
There's
Looks like
agrobacterial protocols and books about agrobacterium.
Carolina Biological.
Radiobacter.
A radiobacter?
No, this says agrobacterium. Well, so you can buy it from different places, but they pretty much all are like, yeah, just send us your USDA license and we'll send it to you. You know,
Yeah, I think
like,
I don't know. It seems weird that Carolina Biological because usually they're pretty. You know, they don't send a lot of their stuff. I wonder on their website what it says because it is like uh, it requires like a USDA certificate or something. At least as far as I know.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
unless something's changed in the last couple of years since I looked.
oh yeah, it says for educational use only. Um,
Still, though, I'm surprised. Is that a weird loophole?
I don't
what?
know.
This guy says he's bought it twice now. It's just a stab of the bacteria.
What? Do you have a link, Joshua?
I mean,
Yeah, it says
Oh yeah, you
it
found it?
says wait, it says here customers are required to obtain a plant pathogen permit, a permit to move living pests from. This is restricted to all states. Once the permit is obtained from the USDA, it will have to be mailed or faxed to our customer service team before the order can be completed.
yeah, that's how I've always seen it.
So how'd you get it, Joshua?
Yeah,
What'd you do?
that's what it says on their website, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they don't bother if you buy it on Amazon. Like, I don't know. Maybe they're desperate for money and they're like, fuck it. We go to jail. We
Yeah.
go to jail.
Yeah, because let's see, agrobacterium USDA permit. Like, did they remove the requirement?
I think I might just add it to my cart and just see what the heck happens.
Let's see. Yeah, but I mean, just because you can buy it even doesn't mean it's like I can get agrobacterium. I think it might already have agrobacterium here. Um,
Well, hell, I need some.
Yeah, I got some agrobacterium because my friend
oh,
who's
maybe it
working with
says.
agrobacterium accidentally brought an old petri dish with it in it, and
Wait,
I know how
actually, it
that
says
happened.
You
in
accidentally stick.
2019. In 2019, um, it's actually happened in 2019. The USDA changed the rule that
Oh,
permits are not required for
Huh.
agrobacterium.
interesting. When did? Okay,
In,
2019.
in
2019.
yeah,
Yeah,
late 2019.
I definitely haven't looked since at least 27 or yeah, 2017. Huh.
Wow. Yeah, in late
That's
2019.
it.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, thanks for pointing that out. Hmm.
EU
Yeah.
could never. I think in European Union you would just get, I don't know, sent to space if you had if you tried to buy agrobacterium without a permit.
Yeah, they would just exile you to the United States.
If it's a free ride, I'm in. Honestly,
You're like, hey, save me a plane ticket.
yeah.
Man, agrobacterium. That's interesting.
It is interesting. Huh?
Wow, that happened in 29. Why didn't anybody talk about that? It seems
Yeah,
weird.
that seems like it would be bigger news.
So Joshua didn't lie.
I mean,
That,
obviously, yeah, during the pandemic, the pandemic, like it happened right before the pandemic, right? And so,
yeah, maybe just
like,
didn't make the news cycle in time before like everybody started talking about the pandemic. Yeah.
yeah, which makes it, yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Huh.
have to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've already got ideas.
Yeah,
Oh,
me too.
yeah.
I want to try. Yeah, I really want to try transforming like HK cells with agrobacterium.
I've
What do you
Why?
seen.
think?
I mean, it's definitely the hard way to do it, but
Yeah, just because. Can you imagine? You're just like, yeah, I engineered the hardest, the least obvious way, but I did it.
yeah, I have seen things where they have agrobacterium modify animal cells for sure.
No, I mean, you could use it to modify like anything. You can use it to modify fungus. You can use it. I mean, the reason people don't do it is because it's like the most complicated way to go about modifying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't
Yep.
you just use like some calcium?
Yes. No, lipofectamine is for losers. Agrobacteria is the shit.
But yeah,
Yes, agrobacterium is the stuff that infects plants like a vector and virus.
yeah,
Kinda.
yeah, kind
You
of.
know,
It's a bacteria, but yeah, you just modify the bacteria with your gene of interest, and then they'll modify the plant for you.
yeah, yeah.
That
That'll
is
be
interesting.
yeah, some interesting new projects to work on
Yeah, that opens up a
because
lot of interesting doors.
oh, I didn't know in 2019. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't heard about that.
Yeah,
That
who knew they deregulated something and nobody complained?
yeah.
That's surprising. Maybe they just kill someone who complains or just tells anything about it.
Maybe so.
Yeah, because I probably in 2019 was probably working on plant stuff
Yeah.
because at the Odin in Oakland, we had all these cannabis plants that we were playing around with.
Yeah.
Um, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
I
You just
I
have to.
remember that using agrobacterium was so it's
Yeah.
funny that like it just
Yeah, because it's also
randomly was
anything modified with
deregulated.
agrobacterium was even regulated. So I had to check on see if that's still the case. Uh,
What's up?
to see if things modified with agrobacterium are themselves still regulated.
So what do you mean? Like can't be sold or can't be?
Yeah, exactly. They had the same regulations as agrobacterium itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you made like an agrobacterium, tomato, modified tomato, then they'd be like, you can't sell that across state lines without a permit because it might still contain
Yeah.
agrobacterium.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine not. I don't know, but yeah. Yeah.
It seems like if you can get the agrobacterium, they don't give a shit anymore. So that's interesting and nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
what if you made?
This
What if you
field
made?
is so regulated that like we're almost celebrating that we can buy agrobacterium now.
I know it's ridiculous. Um, like I almost went to the trouble. I had a crown gall on one of my trees, and I almost went to the trouble of trying to collect, culture, and cure them to have my own. Uh, even though, but I was moving to Texas, so it was just way too much going on at the time, so I just didn't do it.
Yeah, I
But
know
yeah,
people have done that. I think you could just do it from the soil also or something like that. I know people who've isolated agrobacterium strains.
But it sounds
Um,
just so complicated because there's like so many bacteria in the soil and
yeah. I mean, I
just
would
yeah, but
much rather
usually,
buy a good sample, right? That's already.
yeah, for sure. I mean, and the thing is you could always get it. It wasn't like you couldn't get it. It's just like, yeah. Selling it was the big thing is like providing it to people and creating like a plant genetic engineering kit or something like that
Yeah.
was the hard part because yeah. you'd have to have each person fill out and get a USDA permit approved for it. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, one time I looked at the permit and saw like that, and I don't know if you have to be associated with a school or certain facilities or have a master's degree. I heard different things about, not getting approved and stuff. So I don't, you know,
Yeah, when I looked into it, you also have to tell them like what project you're doing, how long you intend for the project to go, when like the project is over, you're supposed to like destroy all your agrobacterium, all this crazy stuff. And you could get it a little bit easier if you got it from a source in state. Uh, so I even like looked at getting it from
yeah,
Mississippi State, who did offer it, but they didn't offer it to individuals.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. So plant genetic engineering. Wow. I mean, still plant genetic engineering sucks because it takes so long. But I think,
Now, all the people that were writing in the comments, Josiah, Joe, when is the next
I
plant
know, right?
engineering kit? Now they're
Yeah,
like,
but you don't have to necessarily like enter the whole plant and make a callus. You could do something smaller, like just engineer like a leaf and make it GFP or something, and it's just like part of a plant that's been modified.
Totally.
So
Yeah, for sure.
see, that I told you. We're coming back.
yeah,
Going full circle.
yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna see now. It's interesting that, yeah,
yeah. That's
this
just
flew under the radar.
yeah,
I'm surprised Sebastian hasn't even talked about it. That's what I
I
expect to hear.
know,
I
yeah,
was like,
but like,
yeah.
I agree.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll have to check into that because that's very interesting. That leads to a lot of interesting possibilities. Um, Heck, my greenhouse full of mutants might be on the table.
yeah, there you
See,
go, David.
Oh man. Okay, the coffee's catching up to me. I have to pee. I'll be back.
All right.
David's going to be
Yeah.
weak. Weak.
But yeah, so we got plants, we got fungus coming up. Um, Still trying to figure out these animal things,
I'm still trying to
but
figure out how am I gonna do the stem cell extraction.
just stop
I'm
being a
scared.
baby.
I'm scared. I am a baby. I am a baby. I'm a big baby, and it's okay. I like to whine. It's okay. Just whining.
Yeah.
It's like the closer it gets to, because I'm doing it on the weekend. The closer it gets to the date, the more whiny I become.
Yeah, I was a little
'Cause-
nervous, but yeah, I think the adrenaline just gets you through it.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You need 5 arms and legs. 5 legs would be a
Uh,
little weird. I don't know what you'd do with 5 legs. Unless you mean 5 arms and legs total, which is like one additional limb. But, you know. But yeah, limbs, I don't know. Not right now. These stem cells, we'll see, Grow a little
yeah,
tumor or something that might have
yeah.
like teeth or some hair,
Just
maybe a little
get a kit
finger.
in a few years. DIY, grow your own limb.
Yeah.
There.
I'm disappointed, David.
What?
Usually we wait till the end of the stream and then everyone like runs to the bathroom to pee because everyone drank coffee before the stream started.
Yeah. I started drinking on the way to work this morning, so it put me an hour back.
Oh.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I
extra.
cheated when my internet was out. I did go to the bathroom, so
Oh, oh, oh,
yeah,
I
yeah,
see how it is.
yeah.
So, like I read this article. Um, it's weird that everybody's trying to. I saw this morning that some companies making a like fermentation based oil for
Interesting.
cooking,
Hmm.
which I was like, really? And they're like claiming it's like healthier than like plant based oils, which I was like, I don't know, those claims seem like pretty sketchy.
Is
Like I get that like if you're fermenting, like yeast or something to make an oil, um, you could like more specifically, design what polymers go in that oil. But like the idea that all oils are bad for you,
yeah,
besides this
shit.
one, is
Yeah,
like sketchy as fuck. Anyway, it's it's weird because like I don't know why everybody's trying to like they're selling it for like $30 a bottle right now, which is obviously heavily subsidized by VC money. There's no way you can charge $30 for a bottle of like some oil that you're fermenting. I mean, because you have to think like a bioreactor to get like, I don't know how much is in even a small bottle of like fancy olive oil, like
yeah,
400 ml or something, right? You're gonna need to run like what a bioreactor continuous, like a 10-liter bioreactor continuously for a minimum of a week or something as it
yeah,
secretes these oils. Just the cost of electricity is going to be more than like, not to talk about like the person working who's monitoring everything and the harvesting of all that stuff.
yeah,
But like fermentation seems like this really shitty idea that everybody's getting onto, and it doesn't really make any sense because like it's really difficult to do, right? Because you need these giant bioreactors, and it's like, why aren't people moving to other organisms that you don't need giant bioreactors for? I don't know, like mycelium, for instance, right? It's like you can grow that shit. You don't have to fruit a mushroom. Mycelium is easy to grow. Mushrooms are hard to grow, but like mycelium is really easy to grow. So like you can grow that shit on wood. Like why aren't people genetically modifying mycelium to produce like, I don't know, all these bioreactor materials instead of in
or even
bioreactor?
plants. I mean, like if you can just like squeeze some olives to get olive
Yeah,
oil.
I don't know. Plants are like really slow, right? You have to get seed. Like they seem way like if you had to choose, what's the ideal organism to grow something, right? I would say maybe like algae is up there, but algae are really hard to genetically modify, and
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Um, right? And you could just throw them in big, you know, vats and have them, live off of sunlight, and you don't really need to do anything.
yeah,
Um, that seems great, right? Require like very little to no input, but I imagine maybe contamination might be a problem, or like I don't know why algae isn't used more. I know they're really difficult to genetically modify, but like besides that, I don't.
yeah. I think that might get easier though. There's a lot of oil companies putting a lot of effort into like algae-based oil research, and like it's not
I don't
like
mean just
huge
I
amount of
mean
money.
like producing any sort of like secondary metabolite that like you use for something, and I don't mean like turning it into oil either. I mean like actually secreting oils, right? I
Oh
don't think
no,
they're
they're
like
like
yeast. I
yeah.
think the yeast are secreting oils that they're like purifying. I
Okay,
imagine they're
so
secreting
they're just
lipids.
like getting an oil layer and separating it off or something.
I imagine because like if you just take like yeast, say, and like extract the lipid bilayer from it, it's gonna be a weird combination of weird shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything that weight basically. Unless you have some sort of extra
They're not really
process.
clear on their website what they're actually doing, but they say it's like fermentation based. So I assume usually when people say that they're like growing something that's making a secondary product,
Right.
right? That's usually what fermentation means. So yeah, they
Yeah, it would
weren't
be
very
interesting.
specific on their website or anything.
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be interesting to see like, they may be they're probably just and they might just be starting with some blend of vegetable oils and water, and then they're just like, oh, but the yeast, I don't know, eat the trans fats, or the what do they call it, fucking saturated fat, and poop out unsaturated fat or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's but yeah. So yeah, these producing oil or producing all these things in fermentation just seems like a terrible idea. And
Yeah,
like I don't know when people like obviously I understand like let's say you're trying to grow like a human cell or something. You're trying
right.
or like animal, you're trying to grow chicken cells. Like you can't really grow chicken cells in any other way besides in bioreactors. Um that's just
Yeah,
like a terrible idea. But like
yeah,
all these secondary products and metabolites that everybody's trying to produce in bioreactors, it just like seems like a terrible idea.
yeah. Well, see, that's kind of the nice thing about the like this GABA tomato, right? Is like you just grow it in the thing that it already is in, and then you just grow more of it, and then you just eat it. It's like for the same reason, it's way more efficient to grow chicken cells in chickens. You know?
Yeah, but let's say you're trying to produce like an antibody or something like that, right? Like a drug. Say you're trying to produce a drug. Um, you know, like how like right now everybody uses fermentation, right? And like obviously some of these are produced at such low levels that you have to grow up so much to produce a very little amount. And so you have these giant fermentation reactors that
Right,
are trying to produce these, and fermentation reactors aren't easy to work with. They're
right.
very limited, in the size and space and cost. And it's just like, have people tried to, make these in like mycelium or something, or
Yeah,
because that shit you could just grow on like some wood and anywhere on the floor.
yeah. Or it's kind of like these companies that like extract and purify THC out of cannabis.
Yeast
You know,
out of
no, I
cannabis.
just mean once. It's like they just take plants and then they just run them through a process where they
Yeah.
distill, purify out one of their metabolites. And so like, but the nice thing is instead of growing a bunch of cannabis cells in a vat, you just have a field of cannabis. It's just like plant seeds, grow a bunch of them, gather them up with a tractor, haul them back to the plant, crush them up, run them through the process, and purify out a bunch of product at the end. So I definitely think
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's some sort of like bulk environment that you could grow stuff on. That would definitely be easier than having to have like a sealed, perfectly controlled space.
Yeah, and it's like, what is that, and why aren't people pursuing that more? But that's like a interesting because like obviously fermentation vats is not the future,
Yeah,
right? Like it's really expensive, it doesn't scale well, it's not good. So like, what is the next organism, and why aren't people searching for it? Um, that people are going
yeah,
to use to like produce this stuff, right?
yeah. And you take things like you know, like you talk scale, like you start talking like, okay, I'm going to scale this up to the 1,000 acre scale, like you might do with corn or something. You know, it's like corn ethanol. You know, even though that's got a secondary step to it. If you could grow the ethanol directly in the corn and then just squeeze and separate, it'd be a lot easier than having to like extract it. then convert all the sugars, and then you have your final product.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's not too bad, but yeah, it's just like you're talking about antibodies, right? Because you're talking about like commodity chemicals that are just like really expensive.
Yeah.
That makes it worthwhile to like do all this work. So like let's say like an antibody that's used as a drug, um, right? Like how do you produce it at such a large scale? And like what organism do you use to produce it with? And like
Yeah. I
produce a
mean,
lot
until
of
you
it.
something that's in like a really cheap medium, uh, you know,
Yeah,
obviously like animal cells are out,
yeah, for
uh,
sure.
and
Well,
something.
maybe I don't know, but because I mean, what if you could just like genetically engineer a chicken and all of its cells produce this antibody? Or
Yeah,
like,
like a whole animal. Now that's a different creature for sure. Because like if you could just do it from like cow blood, like you just had the cows produce the antibody and extract it from cow blood. Cows make a lot of blood, and you could potentially bleed them continuously. Um, like people may not like the ethics of that, but the
I wonder if
efficiency.
that's more like an F. Like, why don't they do that? You know, or is it just like too complicated to engineer the animal and then breed it? Um,
I
because
don't
it
know why.
seems like,
I mean,
uh,
they extract antibodies from human blood for special
no, I mean
medicine.
they extract antibodies from animal blood all the time, but they're
Yeah.
those are like not genetically engineered. Those are like polyclonal antibodies usually.
Well, yeah,
Um,
but that's more like research stuff, I think.
so like, but like you could probably genetically modify an animal to
To produce
produce an antibody
human antibodies. Yeah, yeah.
like that's like a drug. Why don't
They
they?
they did that with goats. They made it's FDA approved pharma goat. I forget what it is, but
Oh
they
yeah.
express some protein in their milk that they then purify out of the milk. So they just milk the goats. Uh, Let me see, pharma goats. I was reading when I was doing the FDA stuff for mine. It was like that was one of the like model cases that I was using to argue with the FDA. So, and this was a while ago. Uh, yeah, this is 2008, something like that. I don't remember exactly what the thing is. It's some
Yeah.
protein of interest. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So they just made a breed of goats that do that, and then the FDA just was like, yeah, it's an anticoagulant, antithrombin 3, extracted from these goats' milks.
Huh.
Yeah. So they just have them like engineered to produce, this anticoagulant. But you could make all sorts of stuff like antibodies, all
Yeah.
kinds of
It's
protein
weird.
based.
I wonder why it's not done more. Is
Yeah, I
it
don't know.
just
And then
like
you set it up on the scale of like a dairy farm.
biocompatibility or something? Like,
It might be like it might just be like the extra complexity of doing it in an unusual way scares investors or something.
yeah. Yeah, because like, yeah, seems like a great thing. Milk and like blood, right?
Yeah,
If you could get the stuff into milk or blood, that like, uh, you know, it makes it way easier because then you could just extract milk or blood and
yeah,
purify it directly from it. So you could like engineer a goat and like keep it alive. You don't even have to kill it, and just
yeah,
like take its blood, once a
yeah.
day.
Or just milk it, or
Yeah,
whatever, and and then the like medium is what, water and grass.
and it seems a lot. Yeah, because like yeah, because I imagine renting like a like 10,000 liter fermenter is probably way more expensive. I mean, the upfront costs might be more,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, but then like the opex, it costs as much as it costs to run a goat dairy farm.
Yeah.
And then like you can scale it so big.
Yeah,
you
you
just
just
buy
have
more
more
land, you
goats.
build big more fences. You build a big fence, you have more land, you hire a few more goat wranglers, and you breed more goats.
Yeah. Yeah, because like fermentation vats just seem like a terrible idea, and it seems like that happens all the time though with pharmas. They like run themselves into these dead ends, like with AAVs. Like it
Yeah,
just seems like such a dead end, and they're just like throwing themselves headfirst into this dead end, and it's
yeah,
like, why? Like, why are people still using AAVs to like test gene therapies? Like, it
yeah.
does not seem, nobody thinks it's the way forward, you know?
No,
Especially now where they're trying to do these gene therapies and a lot of people are dying because, liver toxicity and stuff like that. Um,
yeah,
it's just like,
yeah. They've definitely reached the upper dosage limits. You know, like we found, like there was always kind of this idea. I think that like, yeah, its efficiency isn't high enough to do some things, but one day we'll just, I don't know, use so much that it'll work. But then they've like started killing people with the doses because they're so high. So they've like found the upper limit, and then the packaging limit. So like you can only put like a teeny ass amount of DNA in it, and so it's like peaked.
so people are working on other viruses, but I don't think you're going to like get around these things. Sure, packaging, but packaging seems like a smaller problem compared to just like using the virus, like body develops antibody responses to it, it's toxic, like so
Yeah,
you're limited by dose, and a lot of times like dose is the important thing.
yeah, and also you'll end up in a situation where like imagine a future where there are like hundreds of great AAV therapies, and you only ever get one before you're immune to AAV, and that's if you didn't already show up immune to AAV. And so it's like unless you take like kind of scary anti-immune drugs for a while before you get your new therapy. But it's like if you had like 10 good things you wanted with AAV, you're not going to get them.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we got these fermentation vats, we got the AAV, and people are trying to get around the AAV, but it just seems like everybody's trying other viruses, um, which is just like, I don't know. That to me, that doesn't seem like the path forward. Um,
Yeah,
and maybe, maybe it's just like the weakest. They're just like, hey, we'll just have like 10 viruses, and if you need more than one gene therapy, you can just use the virus you haven't used yet or something like that.
yeah,
Um, but it seems like that's like very, you know, using like a sledgehammer when you really need like a scalpel.
yeah, exactly. Because it's like okay, so that means every therapy is going to have to be approved in packaged in every virus, depending on the order in which people end up getting stuff. Or every therapy is going to be packaged in a unique virus. It's just yeah, it's 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 only good if the market is we're going to give you one gene therapy one time. It's going to fix a very narrow problem that you one time had, and it's going to cost $1 million a dose, and that's it. And with the only problems we're trying to address are things that might kill you.
But yeah, yeah, fermentation seems terrible. We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe there's some, good idea for a company.
yeah. This one's interesting. So I would consider putting THC in oranges and lemons. Uh, But I've always thought THC would go best in a watermelon just because you could then call it a pottermelon. And I think that's
Potter.
hilarious.
Why is
Who doesn't?
pottermelon fun?
Because it's a pun. Because it's hilarious. Pottermelon. Who doesn't want to
What
grow
is it?
pottermelon?
Wait, why is it a pun?
I don't know if it's a pun. It's just funny. I
Just
like
like a
it. It
funny
makes,
word to you?
yeah, it's like a funny word to me. Every time I think of it, it makes me smile.
Watermelon.
Plus, way bigger. Crack that thing open, it's like this big.
Why do you need to use THC in anything else? I don't know. It's just such a weird thing. Like, why are people trying to put THC in lemons and shit? Like, it grows just fine in plants. I don't know.
Sure. Except they put you in jail for having those plans.
Well, I mean, it's not like they're not gonna put you in jail for having it in watermelons. Like, what?
Yeah, but they're not looking for that. So for a
Oh,
little while, it's sneaky.
it's like, yes, I've invested $10 million into
I
making
know, right?
THC watermelon. Now they won't put me in jail. It's like, I just like move to California or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Let's
Daria's
see.
back for the last 10 minutes.
I know.
The
Lost you
government
again.
silence me. I know the truth. What
Pottermelon. David was telling us how he likes the word pottermelon.
what is what is even pottermelon?
It's
I
like a
don't.
watermelon. So it's a watermelon that makes THC. It's a pottermelon. See, doesn't that make you smile?
I don't even know what I feel right now. Like I have such mixed emotions. I just
I just love watching like the life drain from people's eyes when they realize how terrible a joke it is.
It's not even a joke. That's the thing. It's not a
yeah,
joke. What's the joke? What's the punchline? There's no joke. It's not like,
The punchline is the other person's reaction, going, "What the hell is this nonsense?"
blah, 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 blah. You just say it, David. A joke has to have a punchline. Like
No, it does not. Definitely not.
it's not a
Oh,
joke. It's like something else that you just made
I don't
up.
know. It's just something funny.
oh no, I think my internet is failing again. No, I couldn't hear any more of David jokes. Oh no. They're
Oh,
not bad. It's not a bad joke. It's just not a joke.
I know it's exactly. It's not a bad joke.
it
It's
makes
not like I'm trying to figure out what's supposed to be funny about it. Like
the word Pottermelon is the whole thing. It's self-contained.
It's just like a calembour, right?
a
Yeah, I don't
what?
know. What it is.
Calembour.
I don't
You
know what
know the
that
word calembour? It's like kind of when you mix words and you change the meaning of the sentence. It's a French word, whatever.
is. I don't know about that.
No.
Go,
You're like, go
I'll show
Google
you.
stuff.
I am googling stuff.
Yeah.
Calembour is a pun.
Our
Yeah, I think for David's birthday, we're gonna send him to like a comedy class or something. Get him
I
like comedy
wouldn't go.
training.
It's dead jokes. You can't. It's like if you're a dad,
I
it's
used
like
They're
to
not even dad
I used
jokes
to have
though.
a
You
buddy.
know, they're like
you're
yeah.
just roasting
I used to have
David.
a buddy. I used to have a buddy who referred to it as the painful brand of unfunny. Um, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't even
that's
know.
what's
Like the
funny
thing
to me
is,
is like it's the funny part is the other person's reaction. So it's like I'm telling me a joke that's gonna happen on your face, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what
yeah. Of course, just like public humiliation of David in this live stream.
I'm difficult to
well, I
humiliate.
mean, his jokes. The thing is, like his joke. The purpose of his joke is to like humiliate people, kind of, right?
No, it's
Because
to
they
make
look
people
stupid.
groan and roll their eyes.
You
Like if
know,
you groan and roll
continue
your
to
eyes,
laugh
I
at them.
think exactly, kind of, kind of,
So it's
yeah.
like I don't know. It's kind of just turning it back on them, you know.
I don't know. I feel like David and my dad would be like best buddies because they would joke about stuff that literally no one else laughs at, and they're just like, and the dad slap on the lap.
Oh, Well, I can't say that's probably not true.
And also, what you did right now, you laughed and you're like, oh, see, that's a dad thing. Uh, Like letting air out after you laugh. Or just like, oh, that was so good.
Yeah, I think it just it's unavoidable. It just happens.
A joke is when the other person
The other
I know,
person, oh,
right?
yeah, well, it may not be
I
a
know,
joke then. Definitely doesn't qualify if that's
it's like a
Dang,
set
the
of rules.
it
It's
just
like a joke.
if that's the definition we're going with, then it's definitely not a joke. It's something else. It's like a reverse joke. Makes me
Reverse
laugh.
joke.
oh, I don't know. I just feel cringe.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. That's definitely part of
I,
it,
I
right?
still have I still have it. That was I don't know. It's like I usually don't cringe for so long, but like I still have the aftertaste of that joke.
Yeah, making the other person cringe is like that's the funny part. Like that's the juicy center of the joke, or whatever it is.
Why do you want people
Well,
to cringe?
yeah,
Yeah.
we what we could do is we could teach you how to have good jokes, you know?
No, I don't want that.
Yeah,
You
Joe.
don't
And
want a good joke?
what's your favorite joke? Writing poopy farts at like 3 in
Poopy
the
farts is
morning.
definitely your favorite joke.
Is that like the peak of the comedy right now?
I mean, everybody laughs about poop and farts, so
Yeah, but when it's in a context, not when it's just poopy farts.
really?
I gotta
I don't
say,
know.
Yes.
my jokes definitely consisted of a lot of poop jokes when my kids were about the age your kids are, because
So the
you can
last
just
package I was gonna send you, Daria, there was like a note in it that said like Daria and heart, and it was,
And
there,
probably
and
poopy farts.
Lyra, she was like, I didn't want to read that note because I thought it was something really personal between you and Daria, when we like threw out the package.
Oh
So she just like
wow.
threw it away. And I was like, no, it just said poopy farts.
yeah,
I knew it.
that doesn't surprise anyone. Yeah,
Dude, that's the perfect setup for a joke, though. You send a package all the way across the world, somebody receives it, and it's an envelope that has your name and a heart, and you open it up, and the only words on it are poopy farts. Like,
see, this
that's
is the
not
same
funny.
thing. The other person isn't gonna laugh; they're gonna go, "Oh God," but then you're gonna laugh at them going, "Oh God." It's the same
No,
Cringe.
but I
thing.
mean it's funny because like it's like you're expecting something else. You're expecting like a nice
Honestly,
like that's the punchline.
from you, I wouldn't. I would be. The actual joke would be if you actually wrote like loving words and like
That's
caring
true.
and stuff
That's
like
true.
that. Then I would actually be shocked and surprised.
Yeah,
Because with your background, uh, I don't. I would
my
always
history.
expect poopy farts. Yeah, your
I
browser
know.
history. I saw it. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's pretty cringe,
I'm not
Joe.
ashamed.
Like it's pretty.
Why would I
Like,
be
come
ashamed of
on.
my browser history? I'm not ashamed of that. Like
Then you should.
Oh man, no, let's see. We got like 8 or 7 minutes left. What we got? Something good.
yeah. Anybody got
Uh,
any final questions after we're
Just
done
popping
talking about bad
to
jokes?
spread some positivity. Go fuck yourself. What are you talking about positivity?
I
Go
like
to your
positivity.
others. No, I'm sure it's
Thank
just a
you,
Twitch
Jackson. Don't
bot.
listen to Daria.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a Twitch bot.
I have no idea.
Jackson, don't let Daria bother you.
No positivity is not allowed on this stream. Only dread and sorrow. Oh wow, it's not a bot. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a bot. Now I feel so bad. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Jackson. I thought you were a bot.
Are we answering questions? usually we don't answer questions because people either say stuff that like doesn't make sense or isn't interesting
Yeah.
or is just like weird comments. Um, so it's like, what do you want us to do? Like a lot of people
Yeah,
are just talking at us and not like interested in what we're talking about or interested in genetic engineering or the science or things like that. Or the
or it'll be
question has already been asked. But
yeah, or it's stuff that's specific to like one of us, but not really like a group relative thing. Like people ask me questions, but like ask me questions on my stuff if it's like my projects specifically and not like the group projects. Because I'm not
I
gonna
feel
just
so
derail our
bad.
conversation just to talking about my stuff for 20 minutes.
I think I might cry. I feel so bad. I was like 100% sure it was a bot. Like, I swear. Can you
Panic,
imagine?
yeah.
You like
negative.
open a stream and like the first thing you see is like people who are streaming like telling you to go fuck yourself.
Oh no.
Somebody has some question about billionaire class already doing biohacking. I don't even like what. The question is like I don't. I'm confused by it. I don't know what you mean.
Thanks, my depression was already serious anyway.
Oh
You can
no.
like be more specific about your question about billionaire class already doing biohacking.
I think that's a reference to me, like a video I made a couple of years ago talking about like accessibility and stuff like that. Like if you have the money, you can still get whatever the hell you want.
Sure. I mean, kinda, but not really. I don't know. I don't. You know. Do you have a specific question or I don't know who Jason Wallach is?
Jackson, I'm sorry, don't go.
Hmm.
You're just the only person who watched us on Twitch, so I thought it was a vote. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
nobody
honestly
really. I
surprised
haven't really advertised my
the
video.
bots didn't show up. Like remember
But
like the last
oh
several
yeah,
streams, like the like porn
especially
advertising bots.
especially at the end of the stream.
hmm Yeah, I think it like takes time for them to find you with whatever they're like searching is.
Yeah.
Hamilton's friend, Jason Wallach. Okay, well, I don't. It's really. I don't. I'm confused. Seems like there's all these conversations happening that I have no idea what's going on. That's the problem. It's like I get it. Our conversations are weird and disjointed, but like some of the stuff people say, it's like you expect us to know what you're talking about when like we might not be like I don't know. Most of us aren't really into psychedelic research. Like I'm sure I'm friends with Hamilton and stuff like that, but like I'm not really into psychedelic research or drugs or stuff like that. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what you expect us to answer on it. Like most of our research focuses on genetic engineering, genetic biohacking, stuff like that, molecular biology type stuff. Um, so that's the kind of questions we can answer. Is there anything groundbreaking that came out in the last 4 years that you guys are really excited about? Man.
I'm kind of excited about the deregulation of agrobacterium. Apparently,
Yeah, actually.
that's in the last
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah. I don't know how they do their work. I don't even know what you're talking about. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we don't know the person. We don't know anything about him.
What do you want us to say? Yeah, I have no idea who this person is. I've never met them. You know, they probably can't describe what they look like except for maybe generic white guy.
Mm.
But that's probably
Like
a guess, but probably a right guess.
Yeah. The only billionaires I heard of are like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and the others who were molesting kids. So I don't think I know that person. There's only like two categories of billionaires for me.
Uh,
uh, uh, so when are you leaving Ukraine?
When am I leaving Ukraine? Rough estimate is like 2 3 weeks.
But don't get bombed.
S- Still getting some work done, but at least I got my new driver's license today.
That's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
It took forever to get a driver's license in Texas. It's like
yeah,
way harder in Texas than Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, I let mine lapse. So, but they like require you to prove like I don't know. They want like everything but a blood sample.
What? In
yeah.
Ukraine,
Driver's license.
I
Yay.
just set up an appointment. I scheduled an appointment 2 weeks ago. Then today I went in. You pay like a fee for like I don't know $5 for the card. They took a picture, got my passport. Everything is like digital, all the databases and everything. So they like scan your passport, and then in 15 minutes my passport was ready.
Nice,
And this is
Yeah,
the wartime. I was like surprised.
nice. That's good though. You know.
yeah. They don't keep everything in like the system. Like I had to prove I was a U.S. citizen, which is just like
What? This is
I know.
ridiculous. This is
It's like
absolutely
I've never lived
ridiculous.
anywhere else but the U.S. Like it's super weird that like you don't have a record that like I'm a U.S. citizen somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Is
you
that
just like type my name in, and like it comes up like U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and like a picture and like your name and yeah,
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
just like
It's weird.
destroyed Ukraine is still better than some of the. Uh,
Yeah, I let my Mississippi license lapse because I didn't realize you had to get an appointment. Because like in Mississippi, you don't have to get an appointment to go to the DMV. You just go to the DMV, wait 15 minutes, sit down, do the thing, and go. Because there's like nobody. And so this one's like
yeah.
you get an appointment, but the nearest appointment's like 2 months away. It's like
Whoa.
holy cow.
I
So
was
you
so
get
mad because my appointment was in 2 weeks. I was like, excuse me, 2 weeks? Usually in Ukraine, it's like in 2 days.
yeah, yeah.
And
My
now
yeah,
because of the war, it's 2 weeks. And I'm like, excuse me?
I think this is mostly because there's like a lot of people moving into the area, so the population has risen a lot. There's a lot of people needing new licenses and whatever without the infrastructure having caught up. But the and obviously I'm one of those people, right? I need a new license because I just moved here. But like the
I
so it
think it's
lapsed. I had to take the driving test again. I had
it's
to
weird. I
parallel.
mean, I understand that like states are different and stuff and the laws are different, but it's weird that like you live in the same country and you need to get like a different license. Because
Yeah,
like in Ukraine, everything's the same. I was
yeah,
surprised how Ukraine is like kind of in a war. It's kind of better than before.
yeah.
Like I
I don't.
didn't honestly I didn't appreciate how like everything functions so well. Like it's literally war, we get air raids like 4 or 5 times a day you hear a siren. But usually our air defense here in Dnipro is good, but like in east and south it's brutal. But like the trains in Germany, they're late all the time. It could be like 15 minutes late, it can be hour late, it could never come, and you bought a ticket for the in
No.
Ukraine they're never late, and now they're like, oh, sorry, we're late 1 hour because the tracks were destroyed by a rocket. We're
I mean,
repairing it. We'll be there in an hour, and you're like, what?
nice. Yeah, that's one thing I definitely like about just having my own car is I could just drive where I want to go when I want to go there. If it breaks down, it's my fault.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Your car would never break down. Honestly, I feel like your car would be like the last on Earth.
it might. It's been going
If
for
So,
it
20 years.
survived the collision with me driving Joe's car,
Yeah, it's like, uh, how do I like Texas as opposed to Mississippi? There's a lot more going on in Texas. There's a lot more stuff to do.
there's
Um,
people.
yeah, there's people. But there's more of everything. There's more people, more crime, more stuff, more heat, more everything. It's just like less plants, less rain, and that's it.
More sun,
Yeah, yeah, more of everything else.
and everything is
could you
bigger.
create mice with mantis shrimp? Maybe. I don't know. It's not like impossible. What do you think about whole body cryopreservation? I don't think about it at all.
Okay.
Don't think I've ever thought about it. Maybe not even a little. So there we go. We answered your questions. It's been 2 hours, so we're gonna take off. I need to get some work done.
I need to pee. Be honest.
Time to get work done.
Again,
No, I actually don't. I don't like pee as often. I don't like drink a gallon of coffee and then, you
I
know.
do. I just can't. I can't sit there and talk for 2 hours without drinking stuff
Yeah,
continuously.
it's like a sensory thing, right? You need to like, I don't know.
Hard
I
to
have like
do.
my emotional support water bottle, but because I always like, I grab things like quick and I do stuff like that. But like water bottle helps me to focus.
Yeah, and for me,
Right
it's
on.
like I have a hard time just like sitting for 2 hours because like you see me, I'm like wiggling around and like doing a lot of this, drinking something. I just like I'm antsy.
Just undiagnosed ADHD people.
Watching on the toilet. Thanks for that, Jason.
Wow, I
Anyway,
appreciate it.
Our
we'll
lives are
see you all
improving.
next week. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about some results from our stem cell experiments
Yes.
and other experiments. Thanks everybody for coming. Support our Patreons. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
help us keep doing crazy experiments. So go online, find our Patreons, and give us money because we're doing crazy cool stuff, and we need your support to keep doing it. I'm going broke, just paying it out of pocket, and
Yeah.
we're trying to give so much back to the community. So help us out. Anyway, we will see you all next week. Have a good one.